You will own nothing and you will be happy. Now, we've heard that slogan for years, dealing with this new agenda that's been pushed on us. However, right in front of your eyes, the middle class is doing just that. They are owning nothing. And it's all because of the policies that we see. We're going to talk today about two things that we can hopefully do to get out of that mentality. The scary thing is, I don't know if any one of them will not have bumps and bruises. Let's jump into today's content. We're going to talk about really the middle class and really the war on the middle class, and how you will literally own nothing. And I don't know if you'll be happy about it, but the truth is, it's happening right before your eyes. Let's jump into it. Today's video starts right now. Be free with me. Be free. Be free with me. Be free. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. That's okay, but let us know what you think about this content. And when you give us a thumbs up, it does help us stay in the algorithm. And we hope that if you do enjoy this, you will give us a thumbs up. So today we're going to talk about the war on the middle class and how it's happening right in front of your eyes. We used to say, well, agenda is really unseen and it's secretive, and it's not anymore. So let's jump into why I believe that the war on the middle class is really happening, and then also there's really only two ways to get out of it, and we're going to discuss them, and I think both of them will be kind of hard roads for us. So let's jump into it. I think the cows and sheep think I'm gonna feed them. Look at them, they're all around me. so excuse if they bellow a little bit. That's just part of being on a farm. We're on the middle class. Number one, of course, inflation. We feel it in the Main Street economics. Now, this is one thing that a lot of people will not feel if they're upper middle class or either upper class or, of course, the political class. You don't see the high gas prices. You don't see the fact that eggs cost another $1 or another 80 cents. So when we hear that, oh, well, inflation is not too bad. Well, for people who make a lot of money, it's not bad. A few cents here and there is not going to jeopardize that. But for the middle class Americans and the lower middle class, especially for people who are on a fixed income, our Social Security recipients, and people who's worked hard all their lives to then turn around and get a portion of their payment annualized and put in monthly payments, 50 cents here, $1 here, $1.50 here, $2 here, that adds up. So when that adds up, that means we get to a stricter budget and we tend to not spend as much on things that we may need or on the wants. Remember, our economy moves on wants, on debts, on the consumer spending money. Well, if inflation is up, that means the needs become necessity and we start focusing on the needs. And every time that we go to the grocery, if we had 2 bags and they had 30 items in it and we spent $30 to $50, those 2 bags with 30 items may cost $70 or $80 now. That $20 or $30 up every week or every month will hit our budget, and therefore it will cost us more. And two things happen. Either we still buy what we need and we spend on debt, or we start not spending what we need and then we look for ways for it to be taken care of for us. Both of those are already happening with the middle class. Credit card debt is higher than it's ever been. Over 60% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. Over 78% of lower middle class is living paycheck on paycheck and delinquent into their credit card bills and not being able to cover their debts each and every month, meaning they're just adding more debts. The other option, like we talked about with needing help and finding help from some other source, is government. Well, when government steps in and they grow their social coverage, meaning not Medicare, not Social Security, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact of giving handouts, more welfare state, more social programs to allow people to not work because they feel like, hey, I can't make what I need to make. I can at least get it from the government and they're taking care of me. So what's happening there? You're building a debt-driven middle class who cannot afford their bills, which will bring them down to the lower class. And then you have other people who are saying, I'm willing to say, I'm done with it. I'm just going to live on what the government's giving me and the social programs. So it's one or the other, either heavy debts that's going to impoverish you, or you're willing to say, I'm giving it all up, I'm going to be unemployed, and I'm going to live off the government. Both those situations hurt the middle class when it comes to inflation. Now let's jump on to interest. Look at the cost of interest. Well, if interest is going up, that means the debts that we talked about, the credit cards, all those things are going up. House ownership is down, by heavy percentages. It's like 50% of people not buying houses now that were buying houses. So the people that were refinancing or buying homes to get into the American dream are not doing it now. It's cut in by half. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, home ownership. For people who bought homes in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and then passed that down to their children, most of those people bought them for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. All of a sudden, their houses today may be worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. Now, I hate to see houses inflate so much. That's how so many people were able to retire and have a nest egg. That was their main asset and main source of income as they got older. If they didn't have an annualized salary and they lived on Social Security, being able to sell that home or to give it to their kids at a good price and be able to get some of that money out allowed them to have money to flourish and live their life. Well, sadly, we're not going to be able to do that because people then were able to buy them at a very good rate and a very good price. Now houses are costing way too much. They're overinflated in price and the interest is high. Average interest for a home is 7 to 8% over a 30-year fixed rate. Now, if you're buying it at 110, 120, 130% price, so I mean it's inflated, and then you're adding the 7 or 8% on top of that over 30 years, you are paying way more for your house than it's actually worth. Therefore, your house will never get to that rate and that opportunity that maybe your parents or grandparents had. So the middle class now has a mortgage just costing 50 to 70% of their take-home pay, which that is not a sustainable practice. Your mortgage should be around 10 to 25% or less of your take-home pay. If it's not, you've got too much house or too much note. And guess what? That's meaning more millennials, more Gen Zers are not buying homes. They're saying, well, we better just rent. So we go back. If interest rate's high, that means debts are high. If they have student loans, student loan interest is high. You know, the average four-year college degree is around $100,000. $100,000. So you're starting off at a job that's just average pay. You have more debt because of credit cards that you've racked up during college. You have $100,000 in student loan debts, and then all of a sudden now you can't buy a home. And if you want to do any of that and you say, hey, I'm not willing to pay off my debts, then you want wants, and then all of a sudden you go into more credit card debts, and then it puts you still in a impoverished state. You are still slave to the lender. So we see a problem with the fact people can't buy houses. People can't afford their debts. People can't afford cars. We're going through a lot of strikes with different automakers and things like that. Well, that's going to cost people more money. They can't afford it. If you're paying, again, 20, 30, 40% of your take-home pay is in a mortgage, and then another 10, 20, 30% is in a car, how are you going to pay the insurances? How are you going to pay the typical grocery bills? How are you going to afford a monthly note on anything else when most of your money's tied up in two things that are overinflated in price and the interest is bankrupting you? So you will own nothing, and I don't know if you'll be happy. That shows inflation and interest is costing you too much money. How do we get out of that? There's two ways, I believe. And again, this is just my opinion. You could take it or leave it. I don't care. These politicians, especially, I'm going to talk on the right, the conservative movement. Because again, I'm a Christian conservative. So I look at everything in a very conservative way, in a libertarian way too at the same time, because I don't want the infringement on me. We're not even going to jump into taxes. We're going to do like a part 2 on just taxes, because another reason that people can't actually own something is because property taxes are crazy, and no one's talking about property tax. No one's talking about overtaxing the populace. We had a revolution over 2 or 3%, and here we are. Most people are taxed 35 to 50% of their income or more, and they don't even realize it, because all these small little taxes add up. And property tax, I can have all this farm, I can have it debt-free, but guess what? If I don't pay the property tax, it's not mine. So that's a part 2 of what we're talking about with the middle class and the war on the middle class. But if we say we got to fix it, here's the way to fix it. One, on the conservative movement, if you see people like Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, Kevin McCarthy's, the McConnells, the Rhinos, the centrist Republicans, they're going to keep doing the status quo. You're never going to get out of this hole. You're just going to keep fighting between the 40s, meaning your centrist Democrats, your centrist Republicans are going to make a lot of money as politicians and pretty much keep you in a controlled environment. Nobody's gonna ever make a touchdown. Nobody's ever gonna do anything other than play through the 40s is what they call it. You're playing right on the little on the right side, little on the left side, and ultimately the people are getting hurt because these policies are costing us money with interest and inflation, and no one's doing anything about it. Here we are, we're talking about debt ceiling again. We're talking about more borrowed money. Do you realize this administration will double the amount of spending in debt by the time office is over? That means we're investing way too much money in things we shouldn't invest in. And all the while, again, the middle class is struggling, is suffering. You've got to have a drastic candidate. Now, we hear Donald Trump, we hear Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm careful to say Ron DeSantis, because Ron DeSantis to me plays on both the centrist, right, rhino kind of establishment, and also a little on the populist side. But if we don't get someone who is revolutionary, one that wants to see change. Now, I believe Trump made a lot of mistakes in the first term. I believe he did a lot of great things now. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody's economy was better. Everybody's pocketbook was better. No matter if you're a leftist or right, your economy was better. Your retirements were better. You can say all you want to do. You can say all the things bad about the person, but the economy was better and the weight of the world was better. We were not in wars. So now we have somebody like that. He's got to make different policies. He's got to make people around him be like him and not just establishment, because then they're going to hold him up always. Same way with Vivek. Vivek's made a lot of big promises. You're going to need someone that's willing to say, I'm going to make the hard decisions. Now, one thing I do like about Trump is he's not fighting for another term. This is it. He's old. He's not really doing anything. He's got plenty of billions of dollars. So I believe he has a better chance of saying, you know what, bump that. I'm going to do what I want to do, and it's hopefully going to help everybody. I like that approach. As a libertarian, I want people to stay away from me. I don't want people telling me what I can do or what I can't do and overregulate how much ammo I have or how much self-defense tools I have, or overtaxing me for things that I already own. I shouldn't have to pay extra tax on this fencing or this cow or the amount of acres I have just because the government wants to, because they're spending too much money, so they want to overtax me. It doesn't make sense, because it's going to end up hurting my bottom line with the middle class no longer be there. So you have to have a populist style candidate that's willing to say, I am going to make these changes. We are going to abolish this. We are going to change the way we view this kind of style government, this taxation, this consumer-driven, debt-driven market. We're going to make a major change. I don't want to use the term reset. I want to say, you know, you've got to change the way that we're doing. We got to do an about face. We have to do a 180 and start working towards a stronger America and people who believe in America. Now, the only other option to that is you got to get rid of people in Congress who have been there for 100 years. All these older Democrats and Republicans I'm talking about more than anything. If you want to see changes, you're not going to see changes with the same people. McCarthy can promise all he wants. McConnell can promise all he wants, which McConnell, I don't even know if he knows what world he's in right now. But if we keep putting these kind of leaders and these 30 and 40 and 50-year term people back in our leadership, you're not going to see change. You're going to play between the 40s. So you've got to change the presidency, and you can't be, if you get a Mike Pence or a Nikki Haley in there, even a Scott or any of those guys, you're going to see the same old, same old. They may play a little on your side and you feel like you're winning. Ultimately, you're not winning, because our culture wars is struggling, our finances is struggling, and we're in more debt than we've ever been, and we're really on the brink of war with Russia. So the only option is we've got to get someone there willing to make the hard decisions. A businessman like Vivek or Trump. I'm not saying one of those. I'm just saying I'm not wanting them to lead my Bible study. As a Christian, I wish they would be saved and good Christian men. But we have to have somebody who is willing to do the hard things. And that means fire people that doesn't need to be there. Start dismantling this agenda that is so tight, that is so wrapped up in our government. We're becoming the same country that we once were before the revolution, where we're overtaxed, not taken care of, and there's no middle class. See, the people that are subservient to the government, the lower class, that they can't help but be there, but they're being put there by the government, and then the government are giving enough handouts to make them just kind of hush their mouth. Or you have the upper class that is making the polarization of these policies. So we're losing the middle ground, and if we don't stand up and we don't have someone who's willing to stand with us, we're not gonna get anywhere. And these politicians like the Pence, the Haleys, like the Scotts, they're not going to help us. So if we don't get control of the Congress or the presidency, meaning Congress, get rid of people like the Lindsey Grahams, all those kind of people, all those people need to go. I'm calling names out because I think that if we don't start talking like this, then we're never going to change policy. People like Rand Paul's a great leader, I think. I think he would be a phenomenal part of administration. I think he's doing great things. I like Thomas Massey. I think Thomas Massey is a libertarian, which I really like. I like government to say, I'm here to make the environment better for you. I want you to be successful, and I'm going to protect us. I don't mind paying tax if our taxes are going to protect us. I don't want to pay my tax, and I'm struggling to work out here from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night to then turn around and see my tax dollars being wasted on policies that does not benefit us, especially in the middle class. It's literally coming down to you will own nothing and you will be happy. Now, I'm not thinking you'll be happy, but if they can keep giving you money, giving you subsidies, giving you handouts, then that's where they kind of convince you to say, oh, well, you're happy because you're not having to work as much. Look at the way unions look. They're starting to tell their people, you don't have to work as much and you can make more money. All that is an indoctrination. Look at our schools, it's indoctrination. We are maneuvering towards you will own nothing and you will be happy, and it's happening right in front of you. If we don't get a proven leader, not a leader in politics, a leader in business that has to make the hard decisions, and you don't start making term limits and getting some of these 950-year-old people out of office, nothing will change, and we will play through the 40s and the middle class will be gone. If you want the middle class to thrive and you want to have a successful America to pass to your children, we have to do these two things. We can't play between the 40s anymore. We have to go against the culture war. We have to fight for what we believe in, and we have to have people that stand with us. Most politicians are not standing with the middle class. They will bait you, they'll throw their lure out, and they will bait you on these talking points, and ultimately they're not doing anything for you. Be careful of who you support. Do your research, gain wisdom. Look for people who is gonna shock it. And if we learn to shock it, we can have another push towards an America that we all wish we had. More freedom, less taxes, and a better environment for safety and security, but also to just love people and to grow our families. The American dream is to own a home, to retire with dignity. You can't do that with interest inflation like it is in the war in the middle class. We don't want to own nothing, and we don't want to be happy that way. We want to own things, pay things off, and be happy. Guys, let me know what you think about this video. I threw names out. I know some of y'all might say, I like this guy, I like that guy, or I don't like that guy. What I'm saying is, if we don't start making changes to some of this, we're watching our Titanic go down. Thank you for watching, guys. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.